of the President of the United States. So there's not much doubt about where I am on this issue. I have respect for my colleagues who are running for the presidency, but I will say this is not an issue, and I say this to everyone in the audience, this is not an issue that I just talk about when I come to you. It's an issue I talk about all over America in front of all kinds of audiences because it's part of who I am. It's who I am as a human being. And I will say this. This is such a part of my life that whatever happens in this presidential campaign, as long as I am alive and breathing, I will be out there fighting with everything I have to help the poor in this country. I can promise you that.
A gentle reminder, yes, you're welcome to stand because you're going to be taking questions from our panelists, but I'll give you a gentle reminder. You have exactly 15 minutes and we have a lot of questions. So we'll move on to our next panelist. The Reverend Sharon E. Watkins is a minister with Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in the U.S. and Canada, head of the mainline Protestant denomination that serves 750,000 people. Go ahead, Reverend.
Senator Edwards, I'd like to ask you about prayer, admittedly a personal matter.
Yes.
How, if at all, has prayer been a source of strength and wisdom for you in your life? How would prayer influence the decisions that you make as president? And most importantly, when you pray, how do you know if the voice that you are hearing is the voice of God or your own voice in disguise?
Yes. So good. Let me some would argue we sometimes have trouble telling the difference, right? I can tell you that it is a part of my daily prayer when I pray, to ask the Lord to give me the strength to see the difference between what I want to do and what He wants me to do, and to give me the strength to do His will and not my will. And those things are in conflict on a regular basis in every human being on the planet. And I think it's a huge challenge for us to try to draw that distinction. I can tell you that I pray daily. I've been through a faith journey in my life. You know, I would be the first to admit that. I grew up in the Baptist church. I was baptized in the Baptist church, person of strong faith when I was young. I strayed away from the Lord for a period of time and then came back in my adulthood. And my faith came roaring back during some crises that my own family was faced with. And I can tell you it is prayer that played a huge role in my survival through that. You know, when Elizabeth and I lost our son, we were non-functional for some period of time, and it was the Lord that got me through that. And the same thing is true when Elizabeth was diagnosed with cancer and then re-diagnosed more recently. But faith, I mean, not only my faith, but prayer has played a huge role in my life. It does every single day. It's what gives me strength to keep going.
Our next panelist asking a question is Reverend Susan Johnson Cook. She's the first female president of the largest African-American clergy conference in the world, senior pastor of Believers Christian Fellowship. Go ahead.
Good evening, Senator. It takes a village is an African proverb. In fact, one of your colleagues has written about it, but it speaks about the blessed of us really helping the rest of us. Quite frankly, the African-American community felt with Katrina that our American village disappeared. You're President of the United States. What are the first two things that you do to rebuild the Gulf and New Orleans, not just the damage that was done physically, but also the hopes of the people that were deferred?
Well, let me say, first of all, this cause of New Orleans is also very personal to me because you may know that I announced my campaign from the Ninth Ward of New Orleans. I took 700 college kids down to work during their spring break in New Orleans a little over a year ago. And I've been to New Orleans and to Louisiana repeatedly since the hurricane hit, including just a few weeks ago. The single biggest thing to be done is the President of the United States needs to put one person, a very high-level, competent person, in the White House in charge of New Orleans. And that person, the President should say to that person, I want you in my office every morning telling me what you did in New Orleans yesterday. And the next day saying, I want you in my office telling me what you did yesterday. I'm not interested in what you're going to do 6 months from now. I want to know what you did yesterday. And I want to know what's happening on the ground. The President what's happening on the ground every single day. What has happened in New Orleans is a national embarrassment. All of us should be embarrassed by it. And it's clear the problem will still exist to a very large extent for the next president. It's something that I will personally commit to making a priority.
Senator, I'm going to have you sit while I ask you another question,
Yes,
if you don't mind. Thank you.
Don't mind.
And while this is not exactly a confessional, there are a whole bunch of people out there. We certainly have enough clergy here, so I'll ask you this. What is the biggest sin? I know. Sorry. What is the biggest sin you've ever committed? Are you willing to say? You can take a pass, sir, as you know.
Just between you and me?
Just between you and me and the 1,300 people in the crowd.
I'd have a very hard time telling you one thing, one specific sin. If I've had a day, I'm about to turn 54 years old this Sunday, and if I've had a day in my 54 years where I haven't sinned multiple times, I would be amazed. I believe I have. I sin every single day. We are all sinners. We all fall short, which is why we have to ask for forgiveness from the Lord. To try to identify one particular sin that was worse or more extreme than the others, the list is too long.
I was going to say, it sounds like you're saying it's a long list. Senator John Edwards, it's nice to have you talk to us today. Our 15 minutes is up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure was mine. We're going to exit off this way. Thank you. My pleasure. Always nice to see you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we've got Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. They're coming up next. The candidates' faith put to the test. We're live from Georgia.